Let's learn about months with a small interesting story. An adaptation of a Russian folk tale. There was once a pretty little girl, Melissa, who lived with her cruel stepmother, Helen. Helen asked Melissa to do all sorts of difficult jobs, right from mopping the entire house to collecting firewood from the jungle. One day, in the middle of winter, Helen wanted some violet flowers. "Listen," she cried to Melissa, "you must go up the mountain and find me violets. I want some to put in my gown. They must be fresh and sweet-scented." It was a cold and foggy morning in the month of December. Melissa said that it was impossible for her to find the violet flowers that bloom in March and not in December. But Helen turned Melissa out of the house and shut the door. Melissa went to the forest looking for the violets, but there was not even a blade of grass visible in the thick snow. She was hungry and shivered with cold. Suddenly, she saw a light in the distance. When she walked towards the source of light, she saw 12 strange-looking men sitting in a circle around the fire. Of these, the first 3 were old and had white hair. 3 were not quite so old. 3 were young and handsome, and the rest were still younger. They were the 12 months of the year. At first, Melissa was afraid, but after a while, she gathered courage and said, "Men of God, who are you?" The oldest of them answered, "We are the 12 months, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November and December." Melissa asked, "May I warm myself at your fire? I am chilled by the winter cold." The great January raised his head and answered, "Yes, sure. What brings you here, my daughter? What do you want?" "I'm looking for violets. My stepmother has ordered me to bring her violets from the forest. If I return without them, she will beat me," replied Melissa. The 12 months were very sorry to hear this. They created spring around Melissa, and soon there were many violets blooming around her. Melissa collected some of the flowers and thanked the 12 months. She went back home and gave the flowers to her stepmother, who was amazed to see violet flowers in winter. She asked Melissa the whole story. She thought that she would also go to meet the 12 months and ask for something that will fetch her a lot of money. She went inside the forest and saw the 12 months sitting by the fire. She was very rude to them and said, "Listen, I want some apples, some apricots, some dates and lots of cherries. Hurry up, create the summer season and then the spring season for me." The 12 months got very furious at the way she was talking to them. The old January created a big snowstorm and they all left the place. The evil Helen was frozen and buried deep in the snow. That is why it is said, "As you sow, so shall you reap." Before we wind up today's class, let's quickly revise. There are 7 days in every week, 4 weeks in a month, 12 months in a year. 10 years make a decade and 100 years a century. Now, remembering all this is your duty.